Today is yoga for strength, so focusing a lot on physical strength, building of physical strength. We are going to be working with a band today, so if you have a band, grab it. If you don't, just imagine you're pushing into a band. You can engage the muscles and imagine you're using a band even if you don't have one. The theme of this week is spiritual studies. So there's a reason why yoga is different than a physical exercise class. So begin to bring yourself down onto your back, landing on your back, starting to land in the room as I talk. So there's a reason why yoga is not just a physical exercise program. There's a reason why you keep coming back. So it's that something else, the little bit more that draws you to the mat. And even if you don't quite realize it, even if you think you're just coming to get more flexible or you're coming to get stronger, there's something else to it. That mind-body connection makes you feel better, makes your system work a little more cohesively, a little more in tune. So we're going to focus on the spiritual side today. And I'm going to read from the Radiant Sutra. So you're starting to soften, land in the room, let go of yesterday, let go of tomorrow, and just be here in this moment. Opening and hearing the words of the text I'm reading. The sutra and some of these ancient spiritual texts were written a long time ago. They were written in a language that was supposed to be very poetic and sing-songy, and it's really supposed to be felt more than thought about. So open to listening, absorbing, without trying to cognitively process a meaning. Sacred texts sing of my reality, but I cannot be found in them, for I am the one listening. I am always closer than breath. Heat and fire are not two separate things. These are just verbal distinctions. The divine and the one who holds the divine are one and the same. We are inseparable. The way to me is through you. So we're going to start warming up our core. So really thinking about our stomach muscles. Start to press your hips down into the ground. Start to press your rib cage down into the ground. And leave that natural curve in your low back. Maybe you need to tilt your pelvis a little rather than pulling it all the way up and flattening your low back. See if you can find strength by pressing your hips into the ground and pressing your rib cage into the ground, starting to fire up the stomach muscles. Maybe even bringing your hands here to remind you which muscles we're using. If you have a block, option to place the block just underneath the knees, give it a squeeze. Start with the small side, thinnest side. We're going to squeeze and hold. So, what are we trying to squeeze and hold? Squeeze the block using inner thighs and notice if the glutes are doing all the work. So try and soften the glutes. Try and press the hips down a little more into the ground and really bringing the focus into the muscles that are deep down by the spine. So stomach muscles closer to the spine. We're not thinking about the six-pack, thinking about stomach ones that are underneath. And we're going to take our knees a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. It's a teeny tiny movement, trying not to move the hips. And once you get used to it, you'll start to find the muscles that are right in front of the hip bones. Little squeeze. Trying not to hold our breath, trying not to bring tension into the face. Breathe. And then if you're using the block, switch the block to a little bit wider and squeeze, and then left and right with the knees. A little tiny left and right. It's really slow, really controlled, trying to find the deeper muscles. And if you have the block, switch it to the widest version, squeeze, and a little left and right. Release the block, place the block in between the shins. If you don't have the block, just imagine you're squeezing the block. Place it between the shins, take the knees above the hips, take the feet in line with the knees, and really focus on pressing your hip bones down to the ground, pressing your rib cage down on the ground. This should feel like work for the stomach already. Should feel nice and strong. Start to notice if your legs feel heavy. Start to notice if you're holding your breath or bringing tension into your face and your neck and your chest. Pressing the rib cage down, pressing the hips down. Focus here. And hold. What happens when you hold? And then knees a teeny bit to the right, and then a teeny bit to the left. Trying not to roll through the hips. Trying not to pop up a hip bone. Trying to keep the hips nice and stable. Really focusing. And every time you drift off your mat and you start flopping around in space, gently draw your focus back to your mind-body connection. When we're not focusing, that's when we're prone to hurting ourselves. Really focusing on muscles we're trying to use, softening the neck, softening the face. Breathe. Bring the knees back to center, and we're going to lift the feet up and lower the feet. Small movement, not all the way to the ceiling, not all the way to the ground, just a small movement, trying to keep a little grip on the block or a little squeeze towards midline, keeping your legs nice and stable. Maybe start to straighten up the legs. Breathe. Try to keep this all in the stomach. You need to focus to keep it out of the low back and the glutes. And then release the block. Bring your knees in. Give yourself a little hug. We're going to take feet to the ceiling. Happy baby. So holding shins or grabbing for feet. Really take a note of how this feels. So how do your legs feel? How do your feet feel? Checking in, noticing. Holding on to the right foot. Slowly lower left heel down to the ground. Leg long, maybe even placing your hand on top of the left thigh. When we say leg long, it's leg towards straight, watching that you're not pushing the back of your knee down. So when we stay straight, often we force our knee into a locked position. We want to have energy in our leg. So really lifting a little tiny bend in our knee and keeping our leg long rather than straight. Slowly return the left leg and switch sides. Slowly lower the right leg down. Pressing the heel into the ground. Watching your breath landing on your mat. Slowly return the right leg, knees in, give yourself a little hug, and roll on over to a side. Come on up to a tabletop position. Move with your breath in tabletop. So moving, inhale tabletop, exhale towards a child. Moving with your breath. And focusing on having more of a meditative, concentrated experience. So feel your breath. Feel what is present in your body. Get out of the cognitive head and onto your mat. Feel these familiar patterns. Feel what is present each day. Notice differences. And we're going to do a lot of shoulder work today. So come on up to a tabletop position, and we're going to take our hands longer, not directly underneath the shoulders. We're going to pull up from our hands, get strong in the chest. So really start to activate, lift out of your wrists, and we're going to slowly lower the elbows down and up. So watch for buckling in the back. A little bit of focus on those deeper muscles where we're using the core muscles, just to keep your back stable. You can also think about pressing down through the knee to fire up the glutes, keeping you a little more stable in your back. Move with your breath, starting to feel your shoulders. And then come on up to a forearm plank. So tip the toes, lift up, forearm plank. Hold here and challenge yourself. How long can you stay focused in this pose? So lifting up out of your arms. We're not jumping into the shoulders and getting tired and sinking lower and lower and dropping through our shoulders. We're trying to stay active and strong through our whole body. How much can you stay active and strong? Can you stay active through the legs? Glutes fired, legs fired, stomach fired up, chest fired up. How long can you hold this and keep a steady breath? Slowly bend the elbows a little. Can you hold this without buckling? Lower the knees and find a child's pose. Take a rest. Find your breath. And for a moment, think about all the times that you've blasted through chaturanga without focusing, without thinking about the shape of your shoulders, without thinking about engaging the muscles and staying strong. And then come on back up to high plank. Lift up, stay strong. Can you keep a steady breath? Can you get a little longer in the spine? So feel like you're growing from the tailbone to the tip of the head. Breathe. Watch for buckling. Come down when you are starting to buckle and tire. Breathe. So just to demonstrate, this is buckling. This is just hanging out in the base of the joints. I'm not really engaged through my shoulders. I can hang out here and not really do much work. We're looking to work, strengthen, breathe. And then lower the knees, child's pose. Maybe flip the hands, take a little rest to reset. And then the next session, we're going to work with the shoulders, really asking you to pay attention and listen to your body. So don't push past your limits. And as soon as you notice that buckling sensation anywhere, you're getting tired, you're buckling through the shoulders, you're buckling in the arms and wrists, or you're buckling in the low back, back off, take it smaller. So we're going to begin with the band around our arms just above our wrist. And we're going to begin with pressing into the band. So starting to really feel like you're engaging. You're going to lift up out of the ground. So shoulders are strong, chest is strong. I feel strong pulling my chest up towards the ceiling. And we're going to start to lift right hand out. So right hand pushes into the strap, and we want everything else to stay very, very still. So we're going to lift up and lower. Lift up and lower. Move with your breath. Inhale, open. Exhale, lower. So notice I'm trying to slow the strap down. I'm not just stopping. There's no flopping in space. I'm trying to engage and slow. If you don't have the band, you're just going to imagine you're pushing into the band, trying to keep everything else still. You should start to get tired in the front of the left shoulder because you're using that to stabilize you and keep you still. This should be active. And then take the right arm forward. So press into the band, forward and down. Forward and down, trying to stay still, taking breaks when you need to. Place the right hand down. Take a little break, reset. Child's pose, maybe pressing into the bands, maybe just letting go. Notice differences left and right sides. Now bring it up to tabletop. Lifting up out of the ground, set up a strong base first. Everything still. Left hand presses into the band, going towards the left, and then we're going to lift and lower. Lift and lower, trying to keep everything else very still. Move with your breath. Inhale, open, exhale, in. Bring your left hand back down. A little reset. And then left hand comes forward. Lift and lower. Inhale, lift. Everything else still. Focus. Watch for tension in unusual places, especially the neck. Watch your holding patterns. Soften your face. Release the left hand from the band. Release the right hand. You're going to take the left hand out all the way, even with the shoulder. Place the palm of the hand down and then pull back. So you're going to pull that left shoulder towards midline and pull over. Looking to open up the shoulders. Take some movements. Just feel a little warmth, a little freedom in the shoulder. Worked it hard. And bring our left hand back, right hand out, even with the shoulder. Place the palm down and then pull back. So you're starting to be a little active, and then move the shoulder. Feel your own muscles. Take this movement in ways that feel right for you. Just moving the shoulder around, imagining freeing it. Feeling all the places we just worked. And just kind of letting it go. Bring it back to tabletop, back to child's pose. And then come on up to down dog and warm up your down dog in whatever way feels right to you today. Taking some movements, taking some explorations of how your body feels. Again, we come to familiar patterns so we can get to know ourselves. And then find the stillness of down dog, lifting the hips up out of the ground. Breathe. Trying to keep a really still base. Arms and shoulders stay where they are. Soft bend in the legs. Take the right heel to the ceiling. Really slow. Try not to move the hips. And try not to pop that right hip open. Press the right heel to the ceiling. Get longer, 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 longer. And then step through a little lunge. Maybe find your blocks. And move and breathe. So feeling your legs. Inhale forward, exhale towards a straight leg. Move with your breath. Inhale forward, exhale towards straight. And you can move your knees and your legs around, feeling your own holding patterns. The key is to stay focused. So we injure ourselves when we flop our knee in a funny angle without awareness. So we're looking to feel those funny angles, build strength in those funny angles, and be aware of what is present when we move in those ways. And then find a low lunge. Get really strong in your low lunge. So you're lifting up out of the ground, pulling up from the right heel all the way to the right glute, sending energy down through the left leg, nice and strong. See if you can lift a little more off the thigh, long in the spine, engaging those deeper core muscles. We're going to start to move and breathe here. So bringing the blocks a little bit further forward. We're going to bring the weight onto the right leg. Pop up the left. Hold here. You can challenge yourself by trying to come off your blocks. Bend in the knee. Hold here. We're going to bring the left leg across the body and then back, trying to keep everything else still. So moving through the leg. So things to watch for, wiggling around in the hip and buckling through the sacrum. So you want to just move through the leg. You can challenge yourself by trying to balance or just hold on to your blocks. Right leg should be fired up super strong. Maybe starting to burn through the right glute. Breathe. Move with your breath. Land the right foot way past the left. We're coming up curtsy pose. Inhale as you rise up, hands to prayer, heart space. So curtsy pose, this is what it looks like. Find a solid pose. So find your base where you're comfortable, knees, ankles, hips. Try to have your hips even. So watch for one hip higher than the other. Land. Option to stay here, or we're going to pop forward and toe tap. So lift up the left toe, lower, lift and lower. Try to stay super stable, super focused. Lift and hover the left toes, little half squat with the right leg. Take breaks as you need to. Stay focused. Don't hold your breath. Lower the left toes, curtsy pose. Come on back onto that right foot, and we're just slowly going to take it back to a low lunge, to a high lunge, sorry. High lunge. I had to think about turning on my mat. So just land in your high lunge, get a solid base. So both legs active, soft low back, soft shoulders and face. Find your center. And then frame out the front foot. Right foot meets left, high plank. Breathe and hold for the challenge, or maybe in child's pose. Get longer in the spine. Lifting up out of joints, so pulling yourself up out of your wrists. Strong in the shoulders. Strong through the stomach to keep the back supported. Breathe. Lower the knees, child's pose. Find your breath. Make your way back to a down dog. Find a steady base, solid base, pulling your hips up out of the ground. Arms and shoulders are strong, soft bend in the knees. Left leg lifts to the ceiling without moving the hips. Really strong lift. Get longer, 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 pressing that left heel. Pull the weight to the ceiling. Breathe. And then step through the lunge. Find your blocks, move with your breath. Inhale forward, exhale towards a straight leg. Noticing what is present. Find a steady low lunge, really strong. Strong in the left leg, strong in the right leg, strong in the core. Keep tuning in and finding ways that you can adjust to connect to your muscles a little more. Can you feel strength pulling up from the heel all the way to the left glute? Strength all the way down the right leg. And if you have your blocks, we're going to come a little bit further forward. We're going to bring the weight onto the left leg, pop up the right toes. Get strong and balanced. Take the right leg past left. And then inhale, open. Exhale, pause. So moving strong. Not moving through the sacrum. Just the leg moving. Everything else staying still. Fire up the left leg, maybe challenging your balance if you want to come up off the blocks. Take the left leg all the way past the right. We're coming up to Curtsy Pose. Inhale as you rise. So Curtsy Pose, left side. Find your hips even. Take your hands to your hips, know where your hips are. Find where you are in space. We're going to bring the weight a little bit onto the left leg, pop up the right toes, and lift and lower the right toes. Trying to remain really still throughout the rest of the body. Stay focused. Keep breathing. And then lift the right toes. Little tiny half squat with the left leg. Everything else still. Land in your curtsy. Find your center, find your breath. We're going to come forward onto the left leg. Slowly step back for a high lunge. Woo. Find your high lunge, find your base, find your center. Both legs strong. Soft low back, soft face and shoulders. Find your breath. Frame out the front foot. Left foot meets right, high plank. Follow me for the challenge or go down to child's pose. Find your strength first. Get really long in the spine. And then we're going to come on over to side plank right side. So roll on over to the right side of the right foot. Balance first. So pull the hips up out of the ground first. Lengthen and then start to open up chest and shoulders. Breathe. Maybe you can start to lift the left leg. Maybe you can start to lift the right arm. Always pulling up out of the ground, up out of this right shoulder. Breathe. Slowly back through center and over to the other side. Left side plank. Set up strong, pulling up out of the ground. Breathe. Maybe lifting the leg. Pulling up out of the shoulder, not buckling. Strong, strong, strong. Breathe. slowly back through plank and into child's pose. Find your child's pose, perhaps palms up, letting go. Back to down dog. Look towards your hands and either step forward or flip forward, landing with your feet underneath your hips, forward fold. Grab your band. I'm not engaging the band yet, just hanging out, having your band handy. Turn your world upside down. What can you let go of? Deep bend in the knees. Inhale, rise up high, hands overhead. Prayer to heart with your exhale. Hold. Find your center. So we're going to work with the band a little more, and we really want to focus on strong through our base, keeping our base really, really, really still. So start to imagine your feet are underneath your hips. Start to imagine you're pulling your feet apart, trying to tear the mat. See if that fires up some of the stabilizer muscles on the outside and insides of your legs. Start to bring a soft bend into the knees, not all the way down to a low chair. Toes, no gripping. So soften your toes, pull your feet apart with your leg muscles, start to engage, lock your feet. We're going to take the band just above our wrists. We're going to take our hands out even with our shoulders. So we want our base nice and strong, fired up glutes, fired up legs. We want our base not to move. Inhale, center, exhale, turn, shoulders. So we're moving from the rib cage. Inhale, center, exhale, turn. Everything else still. If you really struggle with this feeling of pulling your legs apart and locking your legs, you can add a block. So squeezing the block can help remind you that you want to lock your base. So just above the knees, not right on the knee joint. Inhale, center, exhale, turn, while keeping a press into the band. Again, if you don't have the band, just imagine you're pressing into it. Move from the rib cage. Move with your breath. Bring your arms center. We're going to lift up and we're going to turn and twist. So this time we're going to bring our arms over, down, and around, still locking our base. Inhale up, exhale, past a knee. Try to get that crunchy sensation, that drawing in, curling in the core muscles. Inhale up, exhale, turn. Pressing into the band, shoulders active. See if you can make this a full body exercise except the face. Soften the face. Legs should be burning. Bring it back up, release the band. So don't drop it, we're gonna use it still. Release the band and take some wiggles through the shoulders. Pick the shoulders up and drop them down suddenly. Let them go. See if you can get that somatic movement, shaking and wiggling and loosening in the shoulders. And then we're gonna take the band behind us, so just above the wrists, behind us. So you're gonna engage into the band. We're gonna take a step backwards with our right leg. Find a high lunge shape. If you are way more stable in a warrior one shape, take your leg wide. Find your staple base. So you want to find a stable base. Maybe that means a big bend in the back leg. You want your legs strong. You're going to lean forward over the left leg, left and right challenge today. We're going to lift our arms and engage into the band. So lift your arms away from the torso, engaging into the band. Little pulses on and off. Inhale, press in. Exhale, let go. Everything else still, just the arms moving. Slowly step forward, switch legs and set up a solid base. Get really strong in your base. Little tilt over, right leg. Lift the hands away from the torso. So watch for pressing into your maximum. Just find the place where you're engaged, where you feel strong. And then we're going to lift and lower the arms, trying to press into the band. It's a teeny movement. We're not looking for maximum extension, just looking to engage. Find more muscles in the shoulders. Slowly step forward. Let go of the arms. Let go of your band. And take your arms, shake them out. Really shake them, trying to get some wiggles, maybe one at a time. So you can really feel some wiggles in the arms. Trying to loosen the arms as much as possible. And then take your arms left and right. Let go. Come back to mountain pose. Connect to your breath. Invitation to close your eyes. Really connect to your breath. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, part of heart. Bring your part of heart. Hold. Soften shoulders, low back, toes. Soften your face, find your center. Maybe get so quiet, so tuned in that you can start to notice a little sensations of your muscles adjusting and balancing. And again, it helps to close the eyes to notice these sensations. Notice that as we stand in space, our body is constantly adjusting. Find your breath. Option for the challenge today to keep your eyes closed as we try to balance a little. So, focusing on a bend in the knees, soft bend in the knees. When we start to lift our heels, we often lock our knees and press our hips forward because it's an unusual thing for our body to do. So try to think about keeping your hips where they are. Strong core muscles. So imagine you're pulling your hip bones together and then pulling your stomach towards your spine. Obviously, you can't pull your hip bones together, but just imagine that sensation. So start to imagine those sensations and then get longer in the spine. Watch for any weird tilts of the pelvis. And then we're going to slowly peel our heels up off the ground. So maybe you just peel them up a little and balance. Maybe you can start to pull them all the way up. Try to keep the eyes closed. And notice how hard this is. So lifting our heels, just lifting our heels with our eyes closed. Practicing coming up and coming down. Seeing how long we can feel balanced with our eyes closed. And you can start to do things that help you. Maybe you take your hands out to help you balance. Maybe that makes it harder. So knowing where our hands are in space without our eyes open is also a challenge. Breathe. practice balancing eyes closed and noticing what you do when you balance. So maybe you grip with your toes, maybe you lock the knees, maybe you press the pelvis forward. Just notice what your body naturally does to try and help you balance. See if you can make it more of a tuning into your own muscles and telling them what you want them to do. And then bring your hands back to prayer heart space. If your eyes are closed, soften them open as if you're peeking open your eyes. So little tiny blinks first, and then open the eyes. We're gonna inhale up, swan dive it down, touch the ground. This time forward fold, let go. Maybe a little more focus on letting the head and shoulders relax, so bringing the torso towards the thighs, letting the low back be super soft, and focus on letting shoulders hang. If you're not letting the shoulders hang, try flipping the palms, see if that helps with the gripping. Breathe. Let go. Big bend in the knees. Slowly step right foot back. Land the knee down and untuck the toes. So mindful here. We want to not be on the knee. We want to try and be up off the knee. So we're going to come up. Torso up. What do we want to be focusing on here? You can bring your blocks. We want to focus on opening front of the right hip without compromising left hip or right knee. So adjust, find the place, wiggle your foot, find the place where you feel like you're opening but not hurting, opening hip but not hurting the knee, and try pressing the top of the right foot down, and then feel like you're pulling the foot back towards the left foot without letting it move. See if you can start to press into the left foot and activate so that you're strong through the left glute, lifting up a little more. Breathe. And then slowly send the hips back towards right heel. Grab your blocks, keep them with you. We're gonna lift the toes. Now we're looking to feel the back of the left leg. So, rather than folding forward to get that feel and connection in the back of the leg, think about pulling left heel back towards right knee without letting it move. See if that activates the back of the leg, gives you more opening. Or imagine pushing the heel away from you. See if that changes it. A little engagement through the right leg, just to keep the hips nice and stable and space in the low back. We don't want to compromise the back to stretch the left leg. Slowly come forward on the left leg. Begin to tuck the toes and heel up the right knee. And then we're going to switch legs. So left foot goes back, right foot steps forward, lower the left knee, and wiggle around, set up your base. Top of the foot down. So mindful of your own body patterns. I have a tendency to throw my hips around, move my hips too much, and take it into the low back. So I need to move around and shuffle around so that I know that I'm not in a funny position in my low back. Press down into the top of the foot. Little tilt of the pelvis, trying to open up left front hip. And again, using your blocks to support your weight until you know where you feel strong, that you're not pulling into any joints. Breathe. A little longer in the spine, maybe a little more pulling up from the right heel all the way to the right glute. and then slowly send the hips back towards left heel. Peel up right toes. Find the position where you're opening back of the right leg without compromising low back. Breathe. And watch for that sensation of pushing the knee too much backwards. Try to keep that knee not locked. Energy moving through the leg. Breathe. Slowly come forward, and this time we're just going to send right leg back. Find ourselves in tabletop. Move and breathe in tabletop. Inhale forward, exhale backwards, repeating the start of class. What is different? Move with your breath. Come on back to tabletop. Little less focus on the shoulders, so just enough so that we're not buckling. Attention here, solid here. And we're going to move a little bit through the back. So we're going to arch up. We're going to inhale, drop, exhale, arch up. So it's a smaller movement, not a cat-cow through the shoulders, but through the low back, engaging. Trying to keep the legs still and just focus on making space in the low back. Back to tabletop. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, turn. So we're going to turn and look at a hip. Inhale, exhale, turn. And start to make this movement in whatever way feels right. So start to play and take a little movement, exploration in your own body. Mindful, careful, watch for tension in the neck, watch for any back issues. And then sink it back, child's pose. This time really find a way to let go. Whatever that means, maybe your hands surrender to the ceiling. Maybe you bring a prayer to your hands. Maybe even bring the prayer over your head. Connecting to a surrender pose. So as you're connecting to a surrender pose, I'm going to talk about the meaning of surrender pose. So it's spiritual self-study. So oftentimes child's pose is used as a break in class, and it is a wonderful break. It's so nice to come down and reset and have this familiar pose to reset in. But that's not what it feels like for everyone. Oftentimes it can be a very vulnerable position. We have to be very trusting to have our backs open like that. There's an instinctual part of us that feels unsafe that way. So we're exposing ourselves, and it's another reason why we bow and offer ourselves in spiritual practices, religious practices throughout time, or to honor someone superior to us. We bow and expose ourselves and make ourselves vulnerable. So as you're in this pose, think about surrender. Surrender is letting go of what we cannot control. And that concept that our brain has, our cognitive mind has, of controlling everything is an illusion. Really, we don't control anything. We can work towards things. We can have self-discipline. We can think and discover and philosophize. But we really don't have much that we can control. And the concept of constantly trying to control is an illusion that can cause more distress than it's worth. So thinking about what you can let go of in your surrender pose. And try not to think of, when I say what you can let go of, cognitively telling yourself what that might be. So again, our cognitive brain is always trying to do the work. Think about surrendering being a letting go throughout your whole human experience. So more of a feeling, perhaps imagining you have bricks on your shoulders. All of your thoughts and worries and stress are bricks on your shoulders, and you're just going to let some of them topple off in this pose. They're going to fall down onto the mat. We're going to stop the patterns and let go of the patterns. And then make a decision about where you would like to be for your resting pose. Maybe you want to stay in this. There's lots of ways you can prop up yourself into child's pose to make it a complete rest. Maybe you want to slide into crocodile pose. Or maybe you want to come on around slowly into Shavasana. So corpse pose, laying on your back. Or any other position that you choose for your resting pose. And as you start to surrender into the ground, surrender control of your breath, surrender control of your muscles, surrender trying to control the mind. Take a check in on the physical body. Notice what is different. Notice your feet, your toes, your legs, your hips, your low back, your mid back, your chest, your upper back, your shoulders, all the way down the arms to the tips of the fingers. Notice the muscles in the neck. Notice the breath in the throat. And then soften control of the muscles of the face. Allow the lips to be soft, cheeks to be soft. Even imagine softening the nostrils. And the ears. Imagine you could soften around your ears and allow some more space for hearing. Imagine every time you've gripped and tried to control a sound in your environment or responded to a sound in an environment by gripping and closing. Imagine you could let all that tension go right in your ears. Perhaps noticing some softening in between upper and lower jaw as you begin to soften around your sense of sound. And my entire family is very sensitive to sound. And there's a proverb that we often repeat in the house to the point that it is a family joke and everybody is annoyed by it. So the proverb goes, the sound does not disturb you, you disturb the sound. So what this means is the sound is just a sound. And it's only our labeling of it and our trying to control our environment that disturbs us. And that when we can begin to allow a sound to just be a sound, that our life becomes more comfortable. It's not that we need to clear our environment and completely control all sounds and disturbances. It's that we need to become, or it is beneficial to become, more at peace with whatever is there. So as you practice softening your sense of sound, softening any gripping around it, I'm going to repeat the passage from the beginning of class. So again, this is from the Radiant Sutra, written in an old language, been through many translations. It's really meant to be felt more than cognitively understood. Sacred texts sing of my reality, but I cannot be found in them, for I am the one listening. I am always closer than breath. Heat and fire are not two separate things. These are just verbal distinctions. The divine and the one who holds the divine are one and the same. We are inseparable. The way to bliss is through you. There is another famous saying, yoga is the journey of the self through the self to the self. So journeying towards your innermost layer, beginning to understand that that innermost layer is the spark of the divine, our spiritual center. And if you have a religious practice, feel free to insert your own belief in this. Perhaps this is your spirit, your soul, or some other connection to your own God of your understanding. If you do not have a particular religion, the wonderful thing about yoga is it allows for us to have many paths. It allows for us to find our own way to being whole and complete, to being more comfortable in whatever path, journey, distinction, whatever way we like, because we're all a little bit different. So if you do not have a particular religious or spiritual practice, begin to think of something that you felt that connection with. So maybe a beautiful sunset that stopped you in time. Maybe a puppy greeting you at the door where you got lost in their eyes. Maybe a baby giggling. Maybe you didn't even know the baby, but you couldn't help but giggle with the baby. Those moments of connection. That is our bliss layer, connecting with the bliss outside of us, something outside of us, spiritual, nature, whatever that is. So imagine connecting within and allowing that to slowly spread throughout your whole existence. So imagine starting in the center as if it's spreading through every cell in your body, slowly trickling throughout, as if your inner bliss could recharge all of the other parts of yourself. And perhaps getting so connected and so recharged from this space, you're starting to allow it to spread out into your community, out into the room around you, out into the people that you touch, the people in your life, and perhaps even just the people in your heart, people some distance away that you carry with you. The time to take in your resting pose. Please take as much time as you need We need to finish up at the 60-minute mark. Begin to bring gentle awareness to the physical body. Little wiggles to the fingers and toes. And then slowly make your way over to a fetal position. And curl up in a little ball. Imagine continuing to be wrapped in the sense of your entire bliss, letting your bliss glow throughout you, your spiritual layer glow, vibrate, recharge you. And then come on up to a seated position and finish your practice with hands of prayer at heart space. Connecting to bringing our left and right sides to meet in front of our heart. Connecting to accepting ourselves as whole and complete, precisely as we are. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. Thank you so much for joining me.